We're in Lubbock, not here in Muleshoe, and we're in the home of Druscilla and Terry Hutton, and we are celebrating her father's 90th birthday, Sam Damron, formerly of Muleshoe. Many, many years of Muleshoe. Sam, where were you born?
I was born in Comanche, Oklahoma, but when I was 6 months old, I told my daddy I didn't like it.
6 months old?
So he moved me to Amarillo.
So you really talked early in life.
Yes, ma'am. And then when I was in Amarillo in 1932, Daddy wanted to go to Muleshoe, and that's where we did.
And you didn't want to go?
Yeah, I sure did. I wanted to be a Muleshoe Yellow Jacket, and we were for many a year.
Yes, Muleshoe Yellow Jackets were before the Muleshoe Mules. They came into being mules about 1950-ish. Now, were you pleased that we became the mules?
Yes. It was fine.
It was perfect. So how old were you when you actually moved to Muleshoe?
Holy moly. I probably is about eight or nine, something like that.
And can you remember in those early years of your life what Muleshoe looked like?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we used to play horseshoes in front of the drugstore because there wasn't any pavement. And we'd have, dirt road. I remember that.
Now, was it on Main Street, the drugstore?
Yeah, it's one street up. It was over Mr. Gupton's
Grocery store.
No, hotel.
Hotel. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
His hotel, and then we after I got out of school in '48 and moved back.
Now that was UT that you graduated in '48.
Yeah, University of Texas. Yeah, and School of Pharmacy, and I went back with Daddy, and he was a pharmacist, and then we got married on March the 6th.
Who did you marry?
Elaine Jordan from Mason, Texas.
And now what year did you all marry?
1948, on March the 6th.
How did you meet Elaine?
Blind date.
And were you both students at UT?
Yeah.
Now, she wasn't a pharmaceutical student. What was she studying?
She's studying psychology and music.
And so how many children did you have?
Buckets full, it seemed like. Just two girls. Dana was supposed to be my boy, but she didn't work out.
No. So Dana and Druscilla.
Right.
And I think Elaine liked alliteration, don't you?
Yeah, she's a great gal. And in fact, the two girls grew up with her. They were three of them, and it just worked out great.
It certainly did. Now, who's the oldest?
Druscilla.
Drusilla's the oldest. So, Druscilla, you graduated from Muleshoe High School, too.
Well, actually, I didn't. Terry and I married early, and I graduated from three-way after we married, so all kinds of surprises. But then I would have been in the class of 69. But that summer when Terry and I married, I finished my correspondence and went through three-way and then started in at Tech when he did, so...
And so did you all live out in the three-way community farming or not?
Yes, we would farm there during the summer times and then go to school during the spring and fall terms until December of 70 when Terry graduated, and then we moved back to the three-way community.
But now Terry was already going to Muleshoe High School, so you all were high school sweethearts, weren't you?
Well, he had already graduated from high school in Muleshoe. He would have been a senior when I was a freshman, so we didn't date until a year after that or so, 2 years, I guess.
Okay.
So, Yeah.
So I'm learning a lot. I usually know the.
You're the historian because you learn everything about everyone. This is great. So.
Now, tell me your children and where they live today and who they married.
Okay, we have 3 children. Heather, who is married to Mark Long, and they live in Cedar Park, are actually in Lago Vista, Texas, which is north end of Lake Travis in the Austin area. And they have 4 little girls. And then Corley is our son, and he married a homegirl, married Angela Crawford. And they have 3 children, and they live in the Leander area, that school district. And Holly is married to Jonathan Mock, and they live in Belton, and he is associated with Scott and White out of Killeen. And they have 3 children as well, two sons and a daughter. So I have 10 grandchildren in that area. So I have a lot. Yeah.
I bet you do. So that means you have 10 great-grandchildren.
That's exactly right.
Oh, my. It adds up, didn't it? And so now, only one of your children married a Muleshoe.
That's correct. Jonathan, Holly married Jonathan, who was from Denver City. And there was a Muleshoe connection. His dad had grown up in Muleshoe, and the interesting connection for them is when Terry, back in the years when Muleshoe did, all of the musicals, and Terry was in The King and I, and Jonathan's dad, Buddy, was one of the children in The King and I as well. So I have been looking for pictures from The King and I that would have both of them in that picture. It would be a great.
Have you found it?
I haven't found one yet, but I know there probably is one that exists somewhere. So anyway, but yes, and then Angela is the Muleshoe girl, married, from Jim and Jan Crawford. And Heather married, she's the odd duck out, and married Mark Long, who is from New Zealand. So she met him when she was in pharmacy school at the University of Texas.
And so you had a 3rd-generation pharmacy student in your family.
Yeah. Yep.
Now, Druscilla, I'm going to pass the Dana. I did it again. I've passed the microphone to you, but I'm going to ask you a lot of questions. Tell me about how you met your husband and what your mother said. Can you remember? I can. Okay. If you can, I can, and Sam can, I bet. And what you're doing today and where you live.
Okay. Yes, I met my husband at the Red Raider Inn. It's not now, but at that time it was. And he was singing. And so I auditioned to sing in his band. And that weekend I went home to get the blessings of my mom and dad's because I was wanting to go on the road with them. And it just so happened that they had been to a pharmacy convention that weekend. And before I could get it out of my mouth, my mom said, "You just won't believe the girl that was singing at this convention that we were at this weekend, and that's what you need to do." And I said, "Really?" Well, guess what? I've just been invited to join this band, and so then they came over and got to meet him, and they loved the band and loved Ben, and said, "Yeah, that's going to be fine." And so we went to Houston, and that turned into forever. And I've been singing with him ever since.
Now tell me where you live today.
I live in Florida. We live in Port St. John, Florida, which is right where the rockets go off by Cape Canaveral. And we can watch them from our front yard, which is great.
And what do you do?
I'm still singing. We sing around Florida a lot. We have a Johnny Cash tribute show that we do, and we sing on the cruise ships sometimes. And I play golf, of course, because I'm in Florida. I love it. And I also sing on the praise team in our church.
So, Sam, you want to add anything to your memories about Dana and Ben Marney and how she started singing with him?
Yeah, that was quite a deal. After we saw him that day, I was on the state board at that time, and
the State Board of Pharmacy in Texas.
right, and we'd go different places, and I'd go in there and I'd ask them what they thought about the band, and just customers, and they'd say, "Well, it's real good, especially that the girl, the singer." And I said, "Okay." I said, "But do any of them drink?" And he said, "Well, some of those band members do, but that the band leader says we never saw him take a drink." And I said, "Oh, okay." And so I'd check up on them. And Ben never has had a drink as far as I know. Dane will take one now and then. But that's about all that we did. And some, I can't think who was that would be with me, and we went everywhere they did. Because I was on the state board, and I had to go different places. And I'd slip in, wouldn't let them know I was there, and just kind of checking on them. But I didn't need to.
Oh, well, now tell me, let's go back and regress just a little bit, and a whole bunch of it. What year did you graduate from Muleshoe High School?
1942.
1942. Now, is this a picture of your class? I believe it is, isn't it? Who were some of the people in your class?
Well, there's Spud Thomas, and then there was Lena Bell Smith,
And they married, right?
right, and then Lena Bell died, and I think Spud's married again.
I see.
And then Geraldine Taylor, and she was the first one out of our whole class that passed away. And I was trying to think. There's a lot of them. Winnell Eskridge was there, and I can't remember all of them.
Well, now,
Pinky Barber.
Pinky Barber.
Yeah.
Now, tell me, show me where you are in this picture. Okay, right in the very bottom, almost in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Right there, Sam? Yep. Is that right?
Yeah.
And can you see anybody else you want to mention?
Yeah, let's see. There's Mary Sue Osborne.
Now, her father became our state legislator, right? Jess Osborne.
Yeah. I didn't know he was state legislature, but he was running the bank. Could have been. And there's, I can't hardly read them from here. There's Stevens, the principal.
The principal was Mr. Stevens?
No, he was the principal, and Mr. Cox was superintendent.
Okay.
And there's P.C. Windsor. He was the English teacher.
Now, where was the school that you went to, Sam Damron, in Muleshoe?
Well, it was...
Where Mary DeShazo is today, maybe?
Yeah. And grade school was on the far right end of it, and then the high school was up on the other part.
And now,
I lived right across the street.
Oh, you lived across the street. Okay, now, what do you remember? Is the house still standing that you all lived in?
Yeah, I think so.
And so, where was it? You know, where Ines and Pat Bobo lived. Was it on that?
That's where Ines and Pat Bobo lived. That's where Elaine and I lived after we was married.
Oh, really?
We lived in it. We rented their other part of their house.
Is
Yeah.
that right?
Yeah.
And so that was at the corner of West Avenue Avenue D, and 4th Street.
I guess. I don't know.
5th Street. Yeah.
But that's right across the street from the high school.
Right. That was the school you graduated from. It faced back toward the west.
Right. Okay. That's right.
So now, I didn't understand, why did your father come to Muleshoe?
Well, he was a pharmacist. He was working nights at the Herring Hotel there in Amarillo.
In downtown Amarillo, big, tall building, Herring Hotel.
Worked nights. And he just wanted something better than that, and his sister gave him $500 to go down and buy that drugstore that had just gone out of business. It was in, like I say, in the Gupton Hotel, and that's where he did. And he bought, Aspidity or something like that, or Black Drought, and he'd buy a dozen of them, and he would put them out longwise instead of depthwise, so it showed like he had more stock.
He was smart.
He was a good businessman.
And so what was your mother's name?
Her name was Robbie Colleen Tidwell. She was from Duncan, Oklahoma.
And so now, how many children were in your family?
In my family, 3.
Yeah, 3. And who were your siblings?
But Joanne was the oldest, and she's deceased.
And she married
John Smith. And then there's Jane, is 6 years younger than I, and she married Jim Reese, who ran for congressman. Didn't make it, but he ran. Yeah.
And so now, is Jane still alive?
I think so, but I didn't see her today.
And she lives where still?
Odessa.
Odessa still.
Yeah.
And so now, all 3 of you graduated from Muleshoe High School.
That's correct. Yeah.
And so now, when you married Elaine, you brought her as a bride to Muleshoe.
That's correct.
And now, where was the drugstore at that time? Or was it always named Damron Drug in the beginning in the Gupton Hotel? Yeah. It was always Damron Drug. And so I'm sure they had a counter and a fountain, didn't they?
Yeah. And Buck Woods, I think, worked for Daddy at that time. And that was before I got out of school. But when I got out in 48, we built a new pharmacy down, and I can't think who owned that building. Wasn't Gupton. I don't know. He built the Anthony store that was there, and then the one across the street, but I forget what his name was. And anyway, that was the best-looking drugstore in West Texas when it got in. McCassin Robbins out of Amarillo was a builder of that store.
And that was in the 300 block of Maine, right?
That's right.
And so that's what you operated with your dad when you came back from pharmacy school. So now tell me, what year did your father die?
I think it was he was 79 years old when he had that heart attack. I guess I'm not really sure.
That's okay. And so then you continued there. And what year did you actually close the drugstore?
Oh, when did we close it? Was it 98? I don't know.
Somewhere
Maybe
along
98 or 2000, something like that.
Now, did you leave Muleshoe shortly thereafter, or did you and Elaine stay in Muleshoe?
No, we stayed there, and I worked for United Supermarkets. They're the ones that bought me out. And then I lost Elaine on New Year's Eve, 2002. That was on New Year's Eve.
And so what year did you move to Lubbock?
After I had a car wreck, about 2003, I guess. And first thing I knew, I wound up in Grand Court.
And is that where you still live?
Yep.
Now, are there any other Muleshoe people that live in Grand Court?
Well, one time we had about 10.
Really?
Right now we've got Hattie Ray.
Hattie Ray Lambert. She was Hattie Ray Griffith.
Right. and then we've got Patsy. Forget what the heck.
Milligan, Angeli.
Yeah, yeah. And we
Not Patsy, Phyllis.
Phyllis, yeah, Phyllis Angeli. And then we've got Betty Goldsmith. Burlsmith.
Betty Burl Smith.
I think that's all we have right now.
Well, what about Lornette Mason?
She was there. She's gone.
Oh, is she?
Uh-huh.
Okay, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, we had 10 or more there at one time.
Had a Muleshoe circle.
Oh, yeah.
And so what are you enjoying today in your 90th year of life?
We've had a heck of a party. It's been great. Got all my grandkids, and
Both of your daughters.
yeah, both my daughters and their husbands, and a bunch of people from Lubbock that came to see me, and also one from Austin, and one from Wasatchie, and then some Muleshoe. A group of them all came over.
Isn't that special?
It's been very special.
What during those years did Elaine do in Muleshoe?
She was had her degree in psychology, but music. She taught piano, and she also taught organ, and played for the Methodist Church, the only pipe organ for a town that size. And that, I don't know whether you remember or not, but that only, the vote was 1 point. They were split of whether they would put a Hammond organ in or a pipe organ. And the pipe organ won by 1 vote.
Is that right?
Yeah.
It is a beautiful instrument, isn't it?
It really is, yeah.
When I look at it, I think of her.
Yeah, and then she taught, I forget what his name is now.
Jeremy Bruns.
Oh, yeah, she taught him, and he's now playing in Philharmonic in New York. And she also taught another one, too. There were 2 of them for her prize things. Jeremy Bruns, and I forget what.
Well, her grandchildren, she taught all of her grandchildren.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Sam, I thought of several more. Alan Finney, and then there was Mason and Kelly Conklin, and she is now Kelly Heidel, and then Linda Middlebrooks, she's Linda Chapman, and she also lives right here in Lubbock. That's Tootie's daughter. Oh. And so there were a lot. And Gil Robert Reynolds and Peyton Reynolds. We don't want to live out.
She really did.
She taught hundreds, didn't she? Yep. And you know, something else, you were reminiscing about your years at Muleshoe High School. They had a good basketball team.
Yeah, our team in 1942, we won the by-district. Sure did.
And they were the Yellow Jackets.
That's right.
They were the Yellow Jackets. Well, Sam, I want to say a big happy 90th birthday. Can you believe that you've lived this long?
No. I don't know, maybe the good Lord's got something for me to do.
I'm sure he has, and I'll tell you something else. I want to ask you something else before we close out. Why do you think that you have lived so long?
I have no idea. I really don't.
That's a great answer. Sam Damron, who lived most of his life in Muleshoe, is celebrating his 90th birthday, born October the 27th in 1924. Happy birthday and many more, Sam.
Thank you very much, Megan.